Hello and welcome to Wise Exotics. I'm your host Trevor, and today we'll be doing the end of the video log series for June of 2025. I do hope everybody's doing well, and I would just like to do a quick error of caution because I know summertime is the most prevalent time people start purchasing or even thinking about getting into collecting and whatnot. Please do your due diligence when you're looking around and buying. Usually, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Famous line. Uh, there's quite a few scams going around. There's even people who are doing, organized crime and things like that of various species and specimen types. So please be careful when you're thinking of purchasing things. There's plenty of legit nurseries like Pearl River Exotics, Carnivoro, California Carnivores, um, Red Leaf Exotics, Red Barn Carnivores, uh, um, things like that. If you need a source or if you're looking for a certain species or even specimen type, I'm happy to even, do some digging and help you out. Just hit me up on Instagram, Wise Exotic, one word, same little green owl. More than happy to help you guys. If you're having issues with some plant or you need some ideas, feel free to hit me up. It's a free consultation thing. You don't need to pay me or anything. I had some people thinking they had to pay. No, it's just a free thing I do. You just ask. I'm happy to point you in the right direction. Good karma and all that. Things work out. I think that way better if someone's around helping people. That being said, there are plenty of scammers and people using like AI generated thumbnails or stealing pictures from other people's plants and posting them on eBay as their plant. They're not selling that plant, so you're going to get ripped off, and eBay doesn't cover plants. Neither does GPS if they're lost, apparently, because they classify them as a perishable. So, random fact there. Just be careful. Like, don't purchase the blue Venus flytrap thumbnail pictures. That's clearly photoshopped. I literally have to stress this because I've had people really think that that's a legit thing. No, it's not. That's simply photoshopped plant. It's more likely someone took the red Venus flytrap and just inverted the color to blue or changed it to blue. It's a really bad Photoshop too, so I'm not sure how that affects. The AI pictures are pretty easy to spot out. Don't buy from anybody doing that. They don't have your best interests at heart if they can't provide a decent picture of their specimen as well as the parents. They're just somebody running around buying things and trying to, rip people off for a resale value of a higher cost. So there's one guy who's been known to do it. He's changed his name a bunch of times, but well known for using those AI pictures, and he specifically says he targets newer users to try to rip them off. So just word of warning to all of you. I'll take it as a word from the wise. Do due diligence or ask for help. I'm more than happy to do it. I'll help you guys out, point you in the right direction. The clip is doing good. I lost the trap tip on this from the kittens. We're running around here crazy. It did open a nice new trap right there. Its sibling is also opening a nice trap on this side. This one's turning more pink. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to play Plant Tetris here again. Boudica is developing quite nicely. It's kind of recovering from that. I'm not sure if it was an overwater or over fertilization. Just not sure. It tends to like to dry out more and like to be in a sunny spot. So it is a lowland species that I am growing highland, so there are difficulties with growing it in a cooler type setup. But mine is one of the larger ones, and it's been doing fine till I was playing an experiment, and I think I over fertilized it, which was burning the leaves on the outer edge. So I trimmed up those leaves after they discarded, and I've been kind of letting it, as you can see, recover. It's recovering fine. Pudica is a newer species that was discovered, I believe, in 2022 or 2023-ish time. Its unique trait is it's very similar to some other species on their uppers and, as their traps go upward, but it's the only Nepenthes that creates traps from its root structure, and it also can create basils from the root structure that make those traps as well. So the traps that it usually produces, since it doesn't have any right now, are typically green, and they're very similar to some other species in that area, but they're kind of like green little gourds. The underground traps are a completely different, ball game. They are dark purple. They're very large. They're probably around the same size as this, if not bigger. Very huge, deep body with a big flare. It's thought that they hunt nematodes and other underground, insects like ants. I will say that Clipiata Clipiata, however you want me to say that. Clip here tends to be really good at hunting ants, and every time I've had ant problems, these two specimens, initially just this one because the older one has always been good at it, pretty good at hunting ants down. I wonder if I can get in there. Yeah, you can see some of the ants in there, and I know I have dog hair and cat hair because my animals run around here too. I know I'm not the only one with dog hair, cat hair problems. Um, let's see. I would like to point out, so this one is a specimen that I got from my friend Mike's Little Oasis. A friend of mine who goes by Booty Cheese, that's just his username, but he had a specimen. We bought ours at the same time, and this is how big mine is. It's starting to get a little pink with stripes, nice flare. His looks like a mini Candy Dreams. It's almost the same size as some of these larger traps. You know, it looks gorgeous. Not jealous or anything, I'm just impressed. I mean, this is my largest one. My other two are way smaller, so I thought this one was doing pretty good, but he's got me beat. Now, he did say he would get me a basil of it, so I'm excited to see that. Our hope is to eventually cross it with either taffy, pink candy, or crimson candy, so check out this beauty. This is crimson candy, which is a VCIA, which gets a lot of traits from the dad. Its other trap is over here, and it literally looks like a mini Candy Dreams. But it does have some interesting differences to its father. The wings stay green, which Candy Dreams usually turn more yellow. And it's got this intense speckling that go down the front of the wings. It almost looks like blood drip. I've had some people say I should call that Candy Blood or Dracula. Or I just go with Crimson Candy. I thought that was, kind of the bloody splatter would be the crimson. Candy would be a hallmark toward its dad. Whereas this VCIA tends to look more like its mother. Now, unlike its mother, it does get these kind of wavy little leaves and little speckles in the wings, which I like the speckles a lot. But it's doing fine. The variegated plant is doing good. It's way in the corner. As you can see, it's getting some burn on the variegation spots, which I have had people ask question, how do you tell like a variegated plant from not? Typically there's like different colorations. Like this is a healthy specimen plant. This is a blush. Now, as you can see, this one's intensely blushed all over. That doesn't mean they're variegated. Usually I have to zoom in on smaller plants and get an idea. Oh, look, there's an ant crawling along the clip. Yeah, there's an ant, huh? But usually for like my really intense variegated one, which is a tri-color, Gracilis, it's got like a white pattern, a dark green pattern, and a light green pattern. I have two so far VCI that are doing a white splotches with dark streaks down the mid vein, and that would be that one in the corner, which is a JBX Cobra, and then there was the VCI D here. I've been noticing some little white spots appearing on the leaves and that dark streak. I did notice the Psychedelic X Pink Candy Cane was getting some white splatter across the leaf, and I noted pictures of it at the time, but it was just kind of, ooh, that's interesting. Now, I said I would come back to this. This is the 4021. This is a BE Golden Grex. They bred two parents that were gold, squat, and flared. They had no stripes. This beauty is the offspring. Traps start pink, beautiful striping and flare. Now, what's funny is a friend of mine, Blackridge, has a sibling of it where it doesn't get these wings. It gets a very tall parasol, but color-wise, they're almost identical. So we know that they're from the same batch. This one is a mutagenic freak, and I hate to say it that way, but it is. It's very mutagenic. That's the best way I can put it. This one tends to create dual leaves, where it puts two leaves on one. So like this growth point will come out, and as you can see, it was starting to split into two leaves. It's like every 3 to 4 leaves it likes to do this, but when it does it takes a lot of energy, and it causes this. Now, I don't know what's going on here, because there's some white pigmentation in that, so I'm pretty sure that's an extreme stress leaf. It's actually putting like 6 basils down there right now, which I'm impressed with. This one's got like 3. This one's got 1. This, I actually failed with the sibling. This is KX Candy, Stripe X Candy, so I was rooting a basil of its sibling, which is over there somewhere. Which I think is right next to Taffy. And we'll get to Taffy in a minute. So I'll probably be having to root this specific basil for Mike Fallen since I failed on the other one. He was going to trade me a Palmore VCI basil rooted for mine. So I was curious to see how that location type behaved in comparison to the others. So that's the hope. The Akazukin siblings are doing fine. I have a couple of friends who also have seed grown ones from uh, Japan imports. So this is my seed grown. This is a basil from a friend's that grew pretty good. They're almost identical, except this one gets more body spots and squatness. Originally, this one had more flare, and that one had more flare. So I don't know. They're squatting out on me. I know that they're both from this one specifically is from a seed grown plant. The guy had a basil and he offered it to me when he was trying to get out of the collection, so I grabbed it. It's like my M over here. I have a VCI M from Mike, little Oasis. That one's doing pretty good. This is the D, which I'm starting to see the variegated traits on. They're very small little white spots on the leaves. You can kind of almost see them. It's not the same as the wax coloring. The wax coloring is uniform. This is just a blob in one spot. I do like this one a lot. That is Barrio MT X Cobra. This is CK, Murad X Candy from Christian Klein. This one's doing fine. This is a basil one also. This is another basil one. This is a KX Candy Stripe X Candy. And to what I can tell, most of the Ks used in that was K1 or K3. No, K2 or K3. I'm sorry. I had to think about that for a sec. Typically, K2 was the most used. That was the one most people purchased, which is ironic because I actually have K3. My BE Clipida, which does have a little basil, is doing fine over here. Next to that is a Bongso, which had some issues, but it's coming back. Both of the Bongsos were having a tiff, so I moved one into the back and I kept one out here just because I have two left, just to see how they develop and, will difference in location change out. You can see a very nice trap on the back there. That is Lemon Cherry, which is a interesting hybrid. Minimix Candy Dreams. That really looks like a mini Candy Dreams. Sumatrana. I have a seed-grown one in the back that I found out was actually not a Northiana. My intensely variegated red Globosa X Black Miracle F2. Both of those. And then you can see the basil on the sibling is finally pushing out. I'm so excited that thing's alive. I really liked both of those, so I try my best. My sib is down here. This is KXK from Mike's Little Oasis. All the siblings of it are getting pink with squat, so I'm really excited to see how that works. This is Nepenthes Samudira, Aristolochoides expellii. Now I do have a hypothesis I'm working on in regards to Samudira. I'm pretty sure Rigidifolia derived out as a hybrid species from some sort of cross with Samudira, because multiple botanists and people who specifically study Nepenthes have stated Samudira's traits, both the leaves and the shape of the parasome and some of the trap behaviors and style, are almost identical. So there is a relation there. And Samudira is probably one of the older ones. So my hypothesis originally was Samudira X Aristolochoides, maybe, and then I found out there are two different colorations of Rigidifolia. There's a black, darker colored one, and then there's a redder one. So my thought on the darker colored one is maybe there's some Aristo or Bongso intermixed in the genetics way in the back. And that, when back and bred forth, kept that pigmentation in that specific population type. But it might be Rigidifolia X undulatifolia. Squat body, behavior of the leaves and stuff, when crossed with Samudira, might be the key. I've seen some Undulatifolia X Aristo, Undulatifolia X, Spectabilis, and they're very similar. So it's good to see that. Not Hamada. Edwardsiana is doing fine. It has a big trap hiding there next to Crimson Candy. There is Pink Candy, who has a trap right over there. The trap on Pink Candy was not as red this time, but it seems that one's more susceptible to the warmer temp changes. Barbigier, really do like my Barbigier. I'm really happy it's pushing out. It's got, I think, another trap over there. I'm not sure. It's a very slow plant. I know somebody goes, what's your slowest plant? Is it Lowii? No, my Lowii makes consistent leaves and traps monthly. The burb here is like 6 months, maybe I'll see a trap. Another specimen. So right here, this one hanging up here and the one back there, that's Leonardoi, which is seed grown. I was selling that one, but I'm not sure if anybody was looking for that species. It's a smaller Nepenthes, similar to Mira, but they do get stripes and teeth. This one is Argente. Now this is a female from BCP. I don't know why it does not want to focus here. There we go. No focus. So this one initially had a basil, which I am now trying to root for a friend, but I have officially moved her out of the tank, and she's been growing here fine since a couple weeks ago. The Eddie probably is the best case. It's got like, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves, and then another one working. I think it's working on a new trap, yeah, right here. So we'll get to see that as it develops. A couple of the Vicia, like I said the last time, were having issues, but I'm not sure if... Some people are saying maybe it got too dry, but then I'd be like, I have dozens of Vicia. Why is it one out of specific area, you know, like one in each of the specific areas had a freak out where none of the others did? I checked for pests. I didn't find any pests, so I'm not really sure why some of those were freaking out, but I always do verify. This is Taffy, my VCIB. Kind of the first large VCI I've had, and I do quite enjoy my Taffy. It's a good plant. Crimson Candy and Taffy, I swear, are always competing for my attention, so they're always trying to make better and better traps. The other VGIB I did send back to my friend Travis. Now, Travis was selling off a bunch of plants because there was some stuff going on at home, and, you know, he needed to pay some bills. So I had picked up that dark VGI HB from him. It actually was producing 2 basils, and I have sent it back to him for the same price he sold it to me, which was a deal, and I felt that was fair, and went back to him. He promised me a basil in the future, which I'm more curious about seeing that thing develop and grow from a smaller stage anyway. So the dark bee that used to be here is no longer here. That other VGI that was here, also gone. That one to its buyer. That was, I believe it was a K, but it's just listed as a Barrio. But it was too similar to my K3. It was basically a K3 without stripes. Yeah. Oh, this specific specimen I know is an Encercia. This is actually a seed-grown one from Plant Steady. Initially, when he was first doing that species, he had seed-grown batch, and then he shifted to clones. That's usually how he goes, is he'll keep his favorite of the batch for cloning or growing out himself, and then he'll create clones, but he will typically do some seed grown here and there. So Lance is pretty good. Was annoyed, I did go to BACPS, so we're gonna move over to the tank here. I did go to BACPS, meet quite a few people, chatted with a bunch. Nice to see you guys. My 2 plants I got were GF Wong VCI crossed with Akazukin X Barrio. As you've seen, I have 2 Akazukin X Barrio, and I have plenty of crosses with that Akazukin X Barrio anyway. There are some siblings right there, same dad. Different moms. So I was really excited to get some GW VCI there. There were 120 each. Both are getting pink speckles in the body. I'm really excited for that. Let's see. Some interesting development here. So I was moving these around, trying to see if I could help them. I've been talking to people who are growing GF Long X Candy Dreams. As a few of you know, I have 2 pots right here. And then there's the largest of my pot. One of these pots was sent to me as a pod from my friend. He wanted me to try to grow his out too, so I'm growing mine and his at the same time. This one's my pot, this one's his, and I already denoted them with the number. A few of mine are growing decent size, and his weren't doing as well, so I was trying to give his more light. He does have a couple good-sized ones, but an issue we were discovering when talking with other people growing GF Long X Candy Dreams is they might germinate a bunch of seedlings, but quite a few of the seedlings just expire. Now, that's not to say that's abnormal. Quite a few. The JF001 VCI grew, Ritz X Barrio, which, by the way, the Ritz are right here. These are all the Ritz X Barrio I have left. I know somebody was asking me about that. 2 of the JF001s. The rest of the JF are in the back room doing quite fine. I was worried about the Sturatensis, but it is pushing a new growth point out, so I don't have to worry as much. Yay! Just a little freak out on that. Anyway, so some people were worried that they're losing seedlings in the GWX Candy Dreams. I said, well, it is a newer cross. You're not going to know how it's going to behave. Nobody knows how viable of a cross this is. You might get, 20 seeds germinated. You might only end up with 3. I mean, what was it? A friend of mine did the KXK and he only ended up with 5. And I have one of his 5. So you don't know what's gonna be viable until you grow them out. Now, typically when growing seedlings, and I know people are asking me, how do I grow it? I put ecodom at the bottom and I put shredded moss on the top. And I keep that moist. I really like these seedling domes because it keeps the humidity there. And if it gets a little dry or it's getting to be a dry day, I'll just close them partially. Now, at this time, the seeds I have right here is the Asian cross. This is I'm the only one in the US with this at this time. This was imported by my friend while he was doing his own import, and he bid on it, and we split the pot. So I'm growing half of these for him, half for me. So eventually there'll be more than just me, but I'm the source of these, which is VCI striped, quotes, crossed with Candy Dreams. Now, VCI Striped is an Asian female who's very huge. I did not realize how big she was. She's on the same level as Taffy's traps. They're giant, they're very large. She was pulled from the wild, supposedly, same as GF Wong, same as Candy Dreams, etc. So, not too sure. Beyond that, she likes to produce a lot of basil. She is very vigorous, is what the Chinese contacts have told me. They really like her for breeding because her offspring always put out a lot of vigorousness. Now, combine that with the legit Candy Dreams, that's red and speckled. Oh man, that's going to be nice. There's also a set in Asia right now that is Candy Red X Candy Dreams, Candy Red, or Queen X Candy Dreams. Those were available directly from Amos himself, to my understanding. Queen is beautiful. She literally looks like a female Candy Dreams. A little squatter, darker red, and more striping. The issue with Queen, and I know a lot of people thought she was so beautiful when they saw her, per the Asian buyers who have purchased her, she's a fake out. She actually fades all that coloring if she's not kept at the optimum temperature range, optimum lighting and all that. She immediately loses all that coloration, and that was the one thing that was ticking off. They're like, I spent so much money on this plant and it became meh. I'm like, oh, they spent thousands of dollars on her. Candy Red is one I'm personally looking for. She literally, again, looks like a female Candy Dreams, and she tends to keep her coloration. M1X Cobra made a nice trap here. I was really excited to see that. I was hoping it wouldn't stale out. So here and here are Candy Red X Candy Red. Now this is not to be confused with the Amos Candy Reds. These are ones from a nursery in, I believe, Thailand. It's from the Monkey Cups. Now, one of the days I was having my, chemotherapy, my hands don't work right. I have these shakes that occur and I'll drop things. While I was picking this up, and I usually try to be careful to hand it, but at the time I had the kittens or something, and I shook and I dumped some of the pot out. I thought I got it all in, but I found over here some of the potting mixture had got under, what was it, like down here? It was in the tray area was growing seeds. So I actually pulled those seeds out and put them into these pots. But I was like, man, these things are so vigorous. They're growing with almost no light hiding on the bottom of the pot. I was impressed. So Candy Red X Candy Red are definitely going to be good. Now, some of you know, I have a Candy Red X Candy Red. That thing took freezing temperatures and nearly died, but it's still alive. So highly vigorous cross. And this one is red with intense red stripes, so I'm not complaining. Can't complain about that, everyone. Nope. Now, my Diabolica, she has put out new growth. I'm not sure if she's just pissy still with the repot. Diabolica can take anywhere from, 2 months. I mean, what was it? This one took, where did he go? This one. He took from October till basically January to even start producing leaves again. And that was after I initially repot him. She is older and larger, and significantly more, I would say, sensitive because she is a larger specimen. After doing the repot, she has been pissed, but she's not dead. She just keeps producing traps. I'm hoping that either she'll start to produce a bunch of basils, maybe that's what the stress is going to cause, or, just continue to grow out. The female Clipiata is doing fine. Now this is the one that was getting some white wavings on the leaves. They're very tiny, but I'm intrigued to see how it goes. That's Psychedelic X Pink Candy Cane. It produces pink squat traps with stripes. Can't complain about that. Now right here is a plant I'm holding for a friend. As we know, I have an undulatifolia now. I actually was rooting a basil for said friend, but I had promised them that if I saw another one on the chop site, I would grab it for them and send it to them. So I'm getting that for them. Just kind of mist in here really quick because I'm OCD and whatnot. All the import Vici are doing really well. These are the homemade MXM, and these are the Candy X Candy X candies, so Candy F3s. The Murad X candies are doing really well too. None of them had any shock or stress. The Rajas, Seagrown Kinabalu, BE3152, BE3152. I'm pretty certain that these are not the same 3152. They are not behaving the same way. So the one that everybody, we call it Hydra, produces maybe 3 or 4 leaves at a time and produces a bunch of basils. This one has one basil, but it's got a bunch of leaves active, so they're not reacting the same way. I'm happy to see that the seedground is doing fine. In the corner here, you can see the Argente basil doing quite well. So I did lose K3 basil. I did lose the KXCSXC from specimen A. So specimen B's basil will be going to Mike Fallon, and it's how it is. The C was doing some weird stuff, so I repotted it, flushed its pot. This one finally produced a tiny little leaf, and I think a growth point. I'm not too certain. It's alive, that's all I care about. That's Big Mama X, the wave. The macrophylla are doing well. I was worried about this one because it's starting to yellow, but then when I was rechecking some old pictures of my seed-grown one, it actually did, on and off, have yellow leaves, which is kind of like a lighter green than these. I don't know if that's really as visible here on the camera, but the coloring on these leaves are consistent with the specimen when it was larger, so I was freaking out and I couldn't remember that, so I had to go check some older pics. The Velosa has been gaining size like crazy. I mean, can you believe it was that size only a few months ago? 23 and 11 macros are doing fine. Looks like this one was getting a little bit of a stress on the leaf. I'm not certain if that's just because we had a couple of hot days or what. Clone T is bulletproof, no care, but it's slower than the others. I see the BCP seem to be the faster growing macros of this set. You know, seed grown, AW, and then the BCP. The BCP seem quicker to grow. I would like a BCP Diabolica or even a Seagrown Diabolica because that's just how I am. Ursulacoides, the other Diabolica, Lingulata, Lowii, Epiphydiata, Undulatifolia. All the rest in here are doing quite well. So, to sum up, plants are doing fine. I did move the Robs and the Nebs back into the main back area just because they were getting a little stressed on the leaves. The leaves were shrinking a bit. I didn't like that, so I put them back. So maybe they weren't stable to put on the tray yet. They're coming back quick. Same thing with the Hamadas. They were just stressing because it's getting warmer and it's cooler in the back, so I thought that would maybe be better for those. But other than that, the rest of the specimens are doing fine. If you have any questions, comments, or need help, feel free to hit me up on Instagram if you're questioning about sales or if I have plants available. Also, hit me up on Instagram, Wise Exotic. No, one word, same little green owl. Hope you all have a great summer and see you next time in July, everybody. Trevor out.